Hi everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm broadcasting to you live from the capital city of Hungary, Central Europe, Budapest. I'm actually Canadian, from the west coast of Canada, British Columbia, the capital city of the province of British Columbia, Victoria. I know some of you are wondering, so I thought I'd throw that in today. Good to see so many people joining in. Hi Asil, hi Deep Gagan, hi Jeffrey, hi Baljit, hi Naveen. Good to see members jumping in nice and early. Hi Saamraat. All right, ladies and gents, today IELTS speaking part 3. Some strategies and examples for that. Our materials are coming from our websites, so please make sure to visit us there at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. We have lots of materials, including 6 original practice tests, over 100 hours of video lessons, and an interactive course. So that's aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com, generalieltshelp.com for general IELTS. You can also download our app from your Google Play or iTunes store. Look for our logo and look for Academic IELTS Help. You can also buy our exam books from Amazon. Search for AE Helps Academic IELTS or GE Helps General IELTS. If you have questions about IELTS or our products, you can always contact me at adrian@aehelp.com. That's my name, at aehelp.com. All right. So let's take a look at today's lesson. Tomorrow we will have a members chat class. That class will be IELTS Task 1. One of our members requested a Task 1 for tomorrow. It will be a line graph with a table. All right, so speaking part 3, usually there are about 6 questions. So the examiner's paper for speaking part 3 is usually split into kind of 2 subsections. I'll show you what I mean. So when you're in the IELTS speaking part, speaking, then your interview will be about 10-12 minutes long, roughly, and you will have 3 parts. Part 1 will be about 5-6 questions on a general topic, a couple of questions to get to know you a little bit. Part 2 will be a card or a cue card question. You'll have to talk for 2 minutes about a topic. And then part 3 will be connected to that. Part 3, the paper that the examiner is looking at, looks something like this. It will have a topic like let's talk about having fun. And then underneath the let's talk about having fun, there will be about 3, maybe 4 questions like why is it important for people to have fun once in a while? At times, people enjoy themselves by watching violent sports such as boxing. Is this acceptable? Why or why not? So these are deeper follow-up questions on the topic of part 2. Clearly, part 2 must be about entertainment or something about fun. The next question, how have people's entertainment activities changed in the last 20 years? Will they change in the future? Okay. And then the examiner will have another set of questions. Let's discuss recreation centers. And then underneath that, they'll have another few questions, okay? Now, if you have good English skills and you're doing a good job on the speaking, you'll actually know that when the examiner is asking you the 4th, 5th, 6th question in speaking part 3. The reason why I say that is because for lower level IELTS students, often the examiner might not get a chance to ask these questions, so they'll finish even before they get to this part. So if your speaking is going nice and smooth and you're giving good answers and complete answers, then the examiner is able to ask you more questions. And they'll be able to ask you a second set of questions in part 3 that are still connected to part 2, but maybe, the first one's about fun, and this one here is about recreation centers, so maybe a little bit of a different controlling idea. So here, what are some common facilities available in recreation centers? Is it the government's responsibility to build public recreation centers, or should they be privately owned? Why? How can athletic centers benefit a community, and what is the best way to achieve these goals? Now, students, Komal, Amardeep, Sandeep, notice there's something interesting with part 3. Part 3 questions, you usually don't see the word you, okay? So it's just general third-person voice. So there's no you, all right? You don't see that you in any of the questions because it's asking you in third person, but you can definitely give some examples that include yourself. Okay, so you can still include yourself in the answers, but notice how in part one questions ask about you. What do you do on the weekends? Where do you live, in a house or an apartment? Part 3, it's more generalized, it's more objective. Okay, so we will answer these questions today. Please make sure that you repeat me, okay? So this is a speaking session. So when you hear me say a question or give an answer, then please repeat what I say, okay? So please repeat what I say, nice and loud, not just in your head, and please don't just mumble underneath your nose, but speak nice and loud and clear so you get auditory feedback so you can listen to yourself. Okay, some strategies before we answer these questions, okay? So these are strategies that you should use to get high scores. That means over 6, over 7 in the speaking, okay? Firstly, use the question in your answer. Give full sentences. So if the question is a conditional, if you had $1 million, what would you do? Give a nice full answer. If I had $1 million, I would buy a house in a nice city and buy a car and a business. So use the question, okay? Again, repeat nice and loud after me. So use the question. Don't just say, I would buy a house, a business, and a car, okay? But use the question. If it's a conditional, use the question. If it's a present perfect, use the question. Okay? So here is an example. If you had $1 million, what would you buy? And the response is, if I had $1 million, $1,000,000, I would buy a house, a car, and a business to set me up for life. Okay? So make sure to include the if I had in your answer if the question is if you had. All right? Okay. Next. Buy time with natural expressions. That's a really important skill, all right? You need to think about your answers. Think before you speak. That's a wise saying that exists, I believe, in all languages around the world and has existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Think before you speak, okay? It's very, very important. And to do that, you need to buy time with some expressions. What kind of expressions? So students who watch these classes regularly, what can you do to buy time? That's right, Krishnendu. Natural fillers like and can buy time as well. Those are natural fillers. So natural fillers, sure, don't overuse them. Use them correctly, but they're absolutely okay. They will not hurt your mark, contrary to what many students may believe. And these are called natural fillers. Okay, so okay, those are all good natural fillers? Well is a natural filler as well. Well, drag it out. Manisha, good to see you in class. So Manisha says you could say that's an interesting question. Manisha, did you use natural fillers in your last exam? I know you got a good score in your speaking. Did you use them? Baljit, that's a good one too. Let me think for a moment. So those are some good expressions, okay? So that's an interesting question. Make sure the question is interesting if you use this. That's an interesting question. Please give me a second to think. Okay, sure. Trang Nguyen, this is a hard question. Say that is a hard question instead. That, it's more natural. That's a hard question. Let me think for a moment. Not let me a moment. It's either give me a moment or let me think for a moment, Trang Nguyen. All right? So that's a tough one. Please give me, or let me think for a moment. Okay, yeah, that'll work. That's okay as well. All right. So Manisha says, yeah, I used that strategy, and you got a good score, so see, it works. All right. Shuk Singh, yeah, that's a good one too. That's a bit of a tricky question. Please give me a second to think. Yeah, that's a bit of a tricky question. Please allow me a moment to gather my thoughts. So I'm giving you some variations here, okay? But these are all great. There are a lot of different ways to buy time. Thank you, Baljit, for backing up that answer. Aditya, can I get a moment? We don't say, can I get some moments? It's awkward, okay? So make sure that you use correct expressions, okay? All right. Repeat these natural fillers after me, all right? So here we go. Well. Now repeat these expressions or these leading expressions. That's an interesting question. Please give me a second to think. Okay, practice your intonation, your pronunciation on these. That's a tough one. Let me think for a moment. Okay, repeat nice and loud. Repeat nice and loud. That's a bit of a tricky question. Please allow me a moment to gather my thoughts. One more time. That's a bit of a tricky question. Please allow me a moment to gather my thoughts. Okay? So use variety. It's good. All right? Now, there is another way that you can buy time, and you can also make sure that you understand the question correctly. What is that? How can you do that? So how can you buy time and make sure that you understood the question? There's an interesting technique for this. How do you do that? Okay, it's the third technique. Aha, with exclamation. Jeffrey says, paraphrase. Yeah, absolutely. Paraphrase the question. So let's try it with this one. Okay, that's another way to buy time, is paraphrase the question. It means say the same question but using different words. Now, paraphrasing the question is also useful often because it can help you to calm down and focus and gain confidence. All right? You can say, could you please repeat the question if you didn't understand it, Niraj? But that's one that you don't want to use too much. So here's a question. Why is it important for people to have fun every once in a while? Paraphrase that question for me, students. What's another way to say this? Now here, of course, you need to say it as a statement. Just to be clear, you are asking, and then where's your paraphrase? So let's see. what the paraphrase is. Yeah, Manisha, that's a good way to lead in as well. To be sure, you're asking me about. Tran, we do have part 2 live class recordings. Many of those are available now if you're a member on the channel or if you join our full course. After a while, they get moved there. But we do have part 2 examples in HD on the YouTube channel as well. Okay, so you can see it there. All right, so paraphrase this for me. Say it another way. Okay. So Jeffrey says, are you saying why people need some entertainment from time to time? Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, Suksing, you can say, I can't understand what you're saying to me. Please repeat the question. Okay, that's good, Suksing. It's a little off target here. Baljit, are you asking me about the importance of enjoyment for people? Very nice, Baljit. Okay, good. I can tell you're practicing, Baljit. That's great. Okay, because your natural language is improving. I can see it now that you've been a member for a while and I'm reading your comments. They're coming along nicely, so good for you. Okay, so just to be clear, you're asking the reasons why people need a bit of enjoyment from time to time. Yep, so I used a couple of paraphrases from a few different responses. So that's good. So you can say that, okay? So especially a question where you know, okay, the topic here is fun. So enjoyment is an easy paraphrase. And here, in the official IELTS, the examiner might not actually say yes or no. They might not say anything. That's okay. It's absolutely okay. So even if the examiner doesn't say anything at this point, you've still done a good job. Watch for the facial expression of the examiner. It's very hard for a person, even a trained examiner, to hide when somebody's making a complete mistake or when somebody's correct. Okay? So if you paraphrase, so the question is, why is it important for people to have fun every once in a while? And then you say, just to be clear, you're asking the reasons why people need a bit of enjoyment from time to time. So if you see the examiner's face go like this, then that probably means that something's off. You're missing something. So if you see the eyes go kind of wonky or weird, or you see the examiner kind of tilt their head, when people have this idea of what, then we often tilt our heads like, what? So if you see that kind of a tilting of the head or a weird play of the eyes, it means that you might be a little bit off. And then at that point, you might want to say, maybe I didn't catch the question. Can you repeat that again? And then maybe they'll repeat it, or maybe they'll say, sorry, I can't. If you feel you got it anyway, answer it. If not, then say, all right, then let's go to the next question. Okay, if you see that they don't answer anything, but they just stare at you with a blank face, okay, so they're just kind of like this, it probably means that you got it right. Okay, they're forcing themselves not to give you a hint, so they're trying to look at you with a poker face. If they're looking at you with a poker face, it means that you've probably gotten the paraphrase right. And then just continue talking. Okay. So Baljit is asking a good question. He's saying, why can't the examiner say yes or no? The examiners are told that they're not supposed to give students in the speaking section any kind of extra help because all students should receive the same quality of interview. So the examiners are not allowed technically to paraphrase questions for you. Of course, that would help you to understand them better. They're not really allowed to help you with definitions of vocabulary that you might not get. So that's why they're kind of like a robot in this way. They're supposed to be kind of poker face and just giving you the questions the same way as every other student. So that's why it's up to you to read the situation, okay? All right, but anyway, this way you're buying time. So you've bought some good time to think of the answer as well. Okay, so just to be clear, you're asking the reasons why people need a bit of enjoyment from time to time. Well, I suppose, and this is a nice, again, leading expression that's buying you even more time. So, let's finish this answer. What's a good answer for this? Why do people need fun? Now, this is where you want to think about what 9 from 10 people would say. So 9 out of 10 people, what would they say if you said, why do people need to have fun every now and then? So think about this. Always practice this when you're getting ready for IELTS, okay? Ganesh, yeah, sometimes we give body gestures that tell if we think yes or no. So, yeah, absolutely. Watch for the body language when you're paraphrasing. Okay, Baljit says, well, to get rid of stress. Pachu also said that a little bit earlier. Yadav, he says, oh, it reduces stress to have fun. And Silas says, oh, people need to escape from the monotone life, yeah, monotony of life. To forget about difficult times or challenges, Harmeet, those are all some great answers, okay? So you don't need to give all of them, just a couple of them, and make sure they're good. So, well, I suppose that people must have fun at least a couple times a week to unwind. Unwind is a nice vocabulary there for you today. Unwind means to unwind, which is basically an expression that means to release stress. So, well, I suppose that people must have fun at least a couple times a week to unwind and let go of stress or bad memories. Okay? Sure. All right. Are we done? Am I finished at this point? Do I have a band 9 answer? Am I guaranteed a band 9 answer at this point? Yeah, Pachu, absolutely. It's healthy, right? Laughter is good medicine. It's a nice expression as well. Aditya says, well, we should throw in an example. Marasa agrees. Good. Yeah, absolutely. So that's my third point for strategies, again, emphasizing them. And I know for some students that watch these classes regularly, some of these seem redundant, but I really want you to use these, okay? I really want you to use these, and even if you've heard me say them 10 times over, I want you to hear me say it an 11th time again, because I need you to do this whenever possible. I still find even students that learn from me for a few weeks, and I teach them these skills, they still forget, especially these examples. So give real examples whenever possible and use qualitative and quantitative information. So information that we can measure and see, okay? So let's do that with this question. So let's include an example. Just yesterday, okay? You can say, for example, or for instance, you can also go right into it with a time expression. So just yesterday, and then something you did for fun. Let's see. Pachu Yadav says, just yesterday night, I watched a TV show with James Fallon. It's a comedy. It's a talk show. And I totally forgot about being really sad earlier in the week for crashing my car and having to pay thousands of dollars for repairing it. Sure, absolutely, that works well. Just finish up that idea. And connect it to yourself. So Baljit says, for instance, I go to the local park with my nephews and nieces 2 times a week to have lots of fun and always forget about my worries when I see them laughing. Good, Baljit. Finish it up. So make that connection of letting go of stress. Okay? Patrizio Lordela says, for instance, I go to the park with my friends twice a week to relax and clear my mind. To relax and clear my mind, Patricio. That's the more natural way of saying that, okay? So just yesterday, I went to the park and played some games with my nephews it really helped me to forget about losing my job on Monday. Okay, a little bit of an extreme example there. Losing your job, obviously quite significant and very stressful. But hey, what better way to forget about that stress than having fun with family members at the park? All right, so that's a nice long answer. As long as you can say that fluently, then you should be doing all right. So here we go. Just to be clear, you're asking the reasons. Oh, sorry. What I'm doing here is I want you to repeat me. Okay, so repeat this nice long answer. Hi, Naveen. Good to see you in here as well. Okay, just repeat me, members, and all students watching. Just to be clear, you're asking the reasons why people need a bit of enjoyment from time to time. Well, I suppose that people must have fun at least a couple times a week to unwind and let go of stress and bad memories. Just yesterday, I went to the park and played some games with my nephews. It really helped me to forget about losing my job on Monday. Okay, or you could tie it to the IELTS exam. You could say it really helped me to forget about stressing over my IELTS exam that I'm having today. Okay, all right, that works good. So, notice, by the way, Monday would be a part of quantitative language because we can measure Monday. Okay, we know exactly when that is. That's a specific time in the calendar. All right, here we go. Next question. So let's go through these a little bit more smoothly now, focusing on these strategies, okay? Yeah, Baljit, you read my mind. All right, here we go. Nice and loud, students. At times, people enjoy themselves by watching violent sports such as boxing. Is this acceptable? Why or why not? Okay, I'll leave the answer to you. So give me some answers for this, students. Some nice answers that are complete, that are using the question, reflect the grammar of the question. Try to use some nice conjunctions, coordinating, subordinating, correlative conjunctions. If you're not familiar with those, check out some of our videos that teach about that. Those are important. Use the strategies we're talking about today. Give me a nice, complete answer. All right. Bri Nagar, first-time viewer, welcome. Good to see you. Just follow with the lesson. This is a speaking lesson, so repeat questions and answers. Answer the questions. I'll correct mistakes if you have some. All right. So Yusuf Ben Sain says, yes, it's good to practice some types of sports like boxing. Yusuf, the question is not asking about practicing sports like boxing. It's asking if it's okay for people to enjoy themselves to watch violent sports such as boxing or ultimate fighting or something like that. Okay. Suman says, no. That can make people violent and they do harmful activities towards each other. Suman, it's the right idea. Just watch those corrections, okay? Vishit says, violence is all around us, right from the streets. We walk to the late night TV shows. Vishit, I think you're trying to put too many ideas into a very short sentence, so try to clear that up. Mushtari Kalilova says, this is a little bit challenging to answer. I guess, very good, Mushtari. You picked that up. Yeah, this is a bit of a tricky question. I would probably ask for time to think before answering this one. Okay. Vegan Jeffrey says, I object to this idea strongly, for it's not suitable for toddlers in the family, and also it might cause accidents in the future. I'm not saying toddlers, so obviously children are, there's an age limit here. We're talking, I think, more about adults, Jeffrey, but a little bit of an awkward answer there. I might rephrase that. Ahmed Dogan says, for many, being exposed to violence on media contributes to aggression. However, based on some studies, audiences who witness violence, I think you're going a little bit off there with the example, but you had a good start. Okay. Naveen says, well, absolutely yes. As long as the sport is enjoyable, it is completely... Looked like a good answer, Naveen. I couldn't finish it before it flew away on the screen. Some other good answers coming in there. Murasa says, that's an interesting question. In my perspective, it is not acceptable because it increases violence in society. Good. Okay, Murasa, very clever. You bought some time. Now, does it matter if violence is increased by watching violence on TV or in a stadium, or if that's true or not? No, it doesn't, okay? The IELTS people don't actually judge the truthness or the truth of your answer in this case. You just need to have a good answer, okay? Buying time is definitely a good idea. So remember those strategies. I would use maybe this one here. That's a bit of a tricky question, okay? So obviously some people would say, yeah, it's okay. Others would say, no, it's not. But certainly it's one that we should think about. Okay, so I would start it off with this one here. That's a bit of a tricky question. Please allow me a moment to gather my thoughts. Well, I suppose violent sports can be an okay form of entertainment as long as both viewers and competitors participate willingly and rules are in place to protect the contestants from, or the combatants in this case is even better, from mortal or severe injury. Okay? So here we go. Repeat after me. At times, people enjoy themselves by watching violent sports such as boxing. Is this acceptable? Why or why not? Here we go. Repeat the answer. That's a bit of a tricky question. Please allow me a moment to gather my thoughts. Well, I suppose violent sports can be an okay form of entertainment as long as both viewers and competitors participate willingly and rules are in place to protect the combatants from mortal or severe injury. Okay? All right. That answer will get you a nice high score. Mortal injury, of course, is injury leading to death. Severe, yeah, not sever. Thank you for the correction there, Vishit. I appreciate that for the missing E. There we go. All right. Good. Let's go to the next one. Here's the question. Repeat after me. How have people's entertainment activities changed in the last 20 years? Will they change in the future? Let's see some answers for this one, students. Some of you who watch these classes often should realize that there's a very good strategy to use here. So let's see how well you answer this question without too much help from me. So let's see. Yeah, very good, Balji. Right away you picked up on that. When a question is asking you about change over 20 years or from the last generation or from your childhood, technology is often a very good part of the answer because technology is changing. Technology is changing the world. It's changing many parts of the world. So that's immediately a good idea to think of. Yeah, absolutely. So right away thinking, technology. That's what I can use here. Okay, Dharampreet Singh, that's way too short of an answer. World have changed. Suman says, well, this is an interesting question. Yeah, absolutely. You can buy time. Don't buy time for every question because that will get kind of awkward. For every second question, if you're using a different expression, it could be okay. in part 3, part 1 as well. Okay. My TSC, that's off topic. Questions passed, so careful with that. I would revise. Jeffrey, very clever. So Jeffrey's saying it certainly has changed greatly. So right away showing the grammar of this question. Brilliant. You have to do that. You have to recognize that this question was just asked using the present perfect. So you need to give an answer in present perfect to get high marks. Good, smart. Okay. Naveen, you also recognize that. Very good. So Naveen says there has been significant change from the past 2 decades. Nowadays, people find entertainment online. For instance, very good, Naveen. I caught most of your answer. It was looking really solid. Samrat Satish says, wow, it's an interesting question. Entertainment has changed, active, not passive, Samrat. Entertainment has changed significantly because of technology. Especially nowadays, people would rather play online games than playing in real life. For instance, I always see my nephews and nieces, and that's where a good example will bump your score up into 8 and 9, okay? So very good answer, Amrat, but just remember the example. Okay, good. Trang Tan says, in the last 20 years, we have many entertainment activities to share and enjoy together, maybe with friends or your neighbor. A couple of mistakes there, Trang Tran. Don't talk about my neighbor. I'm the examiner. Maybe I don't have a neighbor. I live in the middle of a forest, so don't use you and your in your answer. And you're off topic, okay? We're not talking about the many activities over the 20 years. We're talking about the change that's happened in 20 years, okay? So careful with that. But definitely very clever from many students. You notice that, aha, this question is have changed present perfect. I have to use present perfect in my answer. Well, yes, definitely. There has been much change in the way people are entertained these days compared to the end of the last millennium. The biggest change has been caused by innovations in technology, such as smartphones and tablets. Smartphones, tablets, and the internet. I often see my cousins and nephews playing online games rather than going outside to kick around the football. Okay, so there you go. That is an answer that will get you a nice high mark. Of course, I'm always pushing students for new vocabulary, so I'm innovating myself in the answer here for you. Okay, let's repeat this question and this answer, ladies and gents. Here we go. All right, so the question is, how have people's entertainment activities changed in 20 years? Will they change in the future? Aha, I missed that part of the question. Well, yes, definitely there has been much change in the way people are entertained these days compared to the end of the last millennium. The biggest change has been caused by innovations in technology, such as smartphones, tablets, and the internet. I often see my cousins and nephews playing online games rather than going outside to kick around the football. I suppose this change will continue into the future, and people will be even more consumed by digital entertainment as opposed to physical real-world activities. that would be the end right there. And I suppose that these changes will continue into the future, whereby people are going to spend even more of their enjoyment using digital devices rather than participating in real world activities. All right. So, kind of a long answer, but it's a big question, okay? The big question is, has it changed in the past and will it change in the future? So, there's a bit of talking here, but don't go off topic, okay? Also, it looks kind of long because I'm using size 16 font so you can see it nice and clear, but it's not actually that much when you're speaking. All right, let's go on and talk a little bit more. Let's discuss recreation centers. So if you are doing a good job here and you're going nice and smooth, then you will know this because the examiner will still have time. You're probably at like 8 minutes at this point, 7.5, 8 minutes. You still got a couple minutes at least on the clock, maybe 3, 4, 5 more minutes to go. So the examiner feels comfortable to ask you 3 more questions in part 3. But don't stress, okay? If you're kind of running out of time and you've been slow to answer some questions, quality over quantity, okay? If you don't hear the examiner asking you a lot of questions in part 3, don't stress. It's fun. You might still be doing a good job and get a good score, so just take it easy. Just focus on doing your best. All right. So the examiner says, let's discuss recreation centers. What are some common facilities available in recreation centers? Now, you probably don't need time to think about this one. Just be careful to give a good answer, okay? So, what are some common facilities available in recreation centers? Okay? Answer this question for me. Nice and clear and clean, okay? So, please give me a nice full sentence answer. Use the question. Remember the strategies. Use the question, okay? So Pachu says there are sports facilities like badminton. Pachu, use the topic. Okay, don't cut that out of your answer. So recreation centers, you should include that. So, well, sports centers or recreation centers will have facilities for playing different kinds of athletics, such as badminton. Okay, so use the question, Pachu. Okay. All right, so Naveen says, well, some common modes of facilities, some common facilities, not modes of facilities, Naveen. Well, some common facilities available in recreation centers are fishing, boating piers. I don't know, Naveen. Recreation centers are athletic centers in cities usually, okay? They're shortened to rec centers, okay? Rec centers. Dharampreet says, treatments are also available. Yeah. A lot of recreation centers will have, for example, massage or physiotherapy. Jeffrey says treadmills or exercise machines are common. Enthu, Chab, good to see you in class. And that was a good answer. You said that there are swimming pools in many recreation centers. Yeah, and I think recreation centers can be different in different parts of the world. Swimming pools are definitely common. Gymnasiums are absolutely common as well. So yes, those are good. Okay. Yeah, Baljeet physiotherapy, that's just what I mentioned as well. So here is a good way to answer this question, okay? Some nice paraphrasing here. So some of the typical amenities available, or some of the typical amenities that people can find. I'm trying to paraphrase as much as possible. When you're practicing for IELTS at home, try to paraphrase as much as possible in your answers. That's how you get the high scores. So some of the typical amenities that people can find at rec centers include a swimming pool, exercise room, gymnasium, maybe a cafe for drinks and snacks, and perhaps some services like massage and physiotherapy. Sure. Okay, am I done? No. Why not throw in an example? Visualize. Think about a rec center that's close to you, okay? So here we go. The city center rec building near my house, where I go twice a week for exercise, has all of these, and even a commons room to host birthday parties and other events. Okay, so throwing in that real world example, throwing in that quantitative language where I go twice a week. I'm just making this up. Okay, yeah, I can have dance facilities, Indergill as well. So all of those work, okay? Repeat after me. What are some common facilities available in recreation centers? Some of the typical amenities that people can find at rec centers include a swimming pool, exercise room, gymnasium, maybe a cafe for drinks and snacks, and perhaps some services like massage, physiotherapy. I know the city center rec building near my house, where I go twice a week for exercise, has all of these and even a commons room to host birthday parties and other events. Perhaps even a library, Harmeet. You're not far off. I know a couple rec centers in my hometown of Victoria that include a library. So good for you. All right. Doing great, students. Don't forget to repeat me as I'm saying these questions and answers. All right? Here we go. Next question. Again, nice and loud. Repeat the question, students. Is it the government's responsibility to build public recreation centers, or should they be privately owned? Why? Okay, don't be too hasty to answer. Think about your answer. Give me a good answer. Again, think of what 9 out of 10 people would say to this question. Okay? And hint, this is where you might want to buy a little bit of time to give a good quality answer. Okay, give a nice high quality answer. You might request a little bit of time for thinking. Again, is it the government's responsibility to build public recreation centers, or should they be privately owned? Why? So Pachu Yadav says the government should build them. But why, Pachu? Give me a nice detailed answer here. And here's something interesting. You can ask for time in mid-sentence, okay? It doesn't have to be at the beginning of the sentence. So you can't say something like, well, the government should definitely be responsible for making recreation centers available to the public. Just give me a moment to think about some good reasons for that. All right. So one reason is that, and then go. Okay. So you can buy time naturally mid-sentence. That's an interesting trick as well, not just at the beginning. Okay. Vishit says, I believe everyone should have access to quality recreation facilities, and privatizing this might restrict access to a limited few who can afford it. Vishit, very nice answer. Okay, that's a nice answer. But be direct with your answer, Vishit. So therefore, the government has to budget for building recreation centers. So add that direct answer in there, Vishit. Amardeep says, I think sports centers should be built privately because it also provides employment to a number of people and trainers rather than the government. Arguable? Good. Again, full answer. Akshay, well, this is the government responsibility to build rec centers because, and then you need to finish that. Okay. Aditya says, in my opinion, it should be privately owned because it can be maintained very well and run easily without big hiccups. If it's government sponsored, recreation centers tend to be unhygienic, they're not kept clean, and the service quality is poor. Arguable, and it's a good answer, okay? That was a good answer as well. Jeffrey says, I think it's their job to take care of citizens' health. So be direct, Jeffrey. I think it's the government's job to take care of citizens' health. And since we pay taxes every year, it's worth to spend money on recreation centers rather than hospitals. Good. You can create a nice complex sentence there, Jeffrey, by saying rather than hospitals. Islam Al-Faluji says, partly yes. Some of these centers should be built by government for middle-class paying folks for exercising. Other fancy centers can be built by businessmen as profitable projects. Islam, beautiful answer. I completely agree with your logic. Well done. Okay, nice answer there. Naveen says, I think rec centers should be owned by the government because it often ensures cost-effective services for all classes of people, and a healthy population is a happy population. Okay, very good. I do believe that it is the government's role to build, operate, and maintain sports facilities for the public, not only so that exercise and enjoyment is affordable for all, but also it is a wiser investment to keep citizens healthy than to pay hospital bills with taxpayer money. Nevertheless, businessmen should also be allowed to establish fancy rec centers for those who can afford them. Okay? Now, that's great. So that will be a nice high band answer there for sure. I've used a few different students' comments to create this amalgamated response, this combined response here. Just repeat after me, okay? Nice and loud, everyone. Nice and loud. Is it the government's responsibility to build public recreation centers, or should they be privately owned? Why? Repeat. I do believe that it is the government's role to build, operate, and maintain sports facilities for the public, not only so that exercise and enjoyment is affordable for all, but also it is a wiser investment to keep citizens healthy than to pay hospital bills with taxpayer money. Nevertheless, businessmen should also be allowed to establish fancy rec centers for those who can afford them. Okay, so that is a nice high band 9 answer, some great vocabulary, some good critical thinking. Okay. All right, here we go. Last question. Way to hang in there, everyone, and nice contributions by all of you. Here we go. Let's finish up strong. Let's give some nice, solid answers for this last question. How can athletic centers benefit a community, and what is the best ways to achieve these goals? All right. Hint, hint. If you can connect your responses between or among questions, that will also help you to send your band score rocketing into space all the way to 9. Okay. So connections, cohesion improves coherence, improves the quality of speech. So this one, definitely one I think you can connect with. Okay. All right. Islam, talk a lot. Send me an email. I want to help you out. I want to help you get a better speaking score. Let's see if we can set you up with the speaking interview through our website so that we can identify why your speaking is so low. It shouldn't be that different, okay, from your other scores. So something's not right. Okay, send me an email. All right. Yeah, Jeffrey, that's a good lead-in. So Jeffrey's saying, as I just answered in the former question, yeah, you're on the right track, Jeffrey. Just finish that up. Okay. Inder Gill says, by providing a dietary plan to maintain good health, we're still talking about athletic centers. Maybe they can have dietitians working at athletic centers, but you need to make that clear, Inder Gill. Okay. So you need to say athletic centers could hire nutritionists and diet experts or diet consultants so that not only people's physical exercise improves, but also their eating habits and quality of food. So, yeah. Just connect, okay? Naveen says, well, athletic centers indirectly benefit society by maintaining the health of the users, customers, a little bit weird, Naveen. It's not bad, but weird. And ultimately fostering positive vibes in the community. I like the use of positive vibes, Naveen. Good for you. Natural, modern, a little bit of slangish. Good. Enthu Chap says, athletic centers allow individuals to learn sports, which in turn leads to healthy lifestyle and builds team spirit. This benefits the community in many ways. Businesses, workplaces have higher production, the economy grows, and people in general are more happy. Very good, Enthu. I just stretched it even a little bit more for you, but that was very good. Okay, very nice answer there. All right. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Very good. As I had just mentioned, rec centers keep a population or keep the population healthy and happy. Certainly, this is for the benefit of society. Thinking about the question, let's do this. Thinking about the question more deeply, I can also say that team sports or that rec centers or sports centers are a great place for socializing, where people can exchange ideas and feel a sense of community. For these reasons, they are great public places, and the best way to gain these goals is by strong marketing, promotion, and discounts for the surrounding citizens. Okay? Don't forget about that second part of the question. Always pay attention to the full question, okay? Don't airball that. So what is the best ways to achieve these goals? Well, the best ways to achieve the goals of having a healthy, happy community that uses recreation centers is give them incentives. Make it fun for them. Use good marketing to draw the people into the community centers. Have a barbecue day where you can bring them in, and you can give that as an example. For instance, the rec center near my house has hot dogs every second Saturday for free for the public, as long as they come and enjoy some sports such as football or basketball, which is also free on that day or for half price, okay? So that would be a great way to finish up nice and strong, and then the examiner will say, okay, that is the end of part 3, and that concludes the speaking portion of the IELTS exam. You will have your mark in about 2 weeks' time with the other 3 sections. Have a great rest of your day. Please don't forget your passport. Here you go. And then you take your passport, you leave, you say, thank you very much. I wish you a nice day as well. Take your passport, you leave, feel confident, you sigh, you go, huh? Hopefully you finished your sit-down part of the exam. If not, stay focused. Make sure to get ready for that as well. If you've done it all, then good. Just be patient, wait, don't stress. You've done everything you can. The rest is all water under the bridge. So no point in crying over spilt milk. That's the other idiom that's useful there. Hey, if you've used our websites, if you've used our materials, and you've practiced, I'm sure you're going to do a stellar job. I know many of our students have. Again, if you're studying for academic IELTS, aehelp.com. That is this web page right here with the blue background. If you're studying for general IELTS, gieltshelp.com. That's this web page with the green background. Make sure to check us out on one of those pages. Join the full course. Get the best. Get the most. And you'll do just fine. You're all brilliant people. You'll learn English. You'll use it to your advantage. You'll become successful. I believe in you. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Much love to all of you. And tomorrow, members, make sure to join, okay? It's members requested class, task 1, line graph combined with table, how to give a band 9 response for that. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Everybody's welcome to watch. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.